No eating.
Hello, everybody. We are live on Facebook. Welcome to, hold on one second. Welcome to Lighten Up with Sunny Wilkinson. And my special guest, I can't wait to introduce you to them in a few minutes. I got to tell you a few things. Number one, I have to tell you that on April 12th, my guest artist is going to be the magnificent Timothy Muffet, who is the conductor of the Lansing Symphony. One thing I love about doing this show is I'm interviewing people musically from all walks of life, from the director of a symphony orchestra to a funky blues guy to extraordinary jazz musicians like you're going to meet today. So please join us for that. Secondly, I always have to give a nod and a shout out to my comrades in song. They have my back on this show. From Smoke and Sled Dog Records, Jamie Sucille, and Susan O'Rourke. Thank you guys so much. I couldn't do this without you. And thirdly, this is the not so happy part. Um, if you hear chainsaws and the crashing of trees, that is indeed going on in my backyard. What used to be this beautiful virgin lot, trees the size of sequoias, is being cut for a new building project. So I know it's so sad. Um, so let me tell you a little bit about my guests, and then I'm going to introduce them. Today, Donell Snyder, who is, well, she's one of those rare breeds that doubles all the reeds, and extraordinarily. So you're going to hear that later on today. She is a teacher. She's taught at universities, excellent musician. And later on in her life, she became a nurse educator supporting critical care at Sparrow Hospital. So we're going to have a lot to talk about with that. Walter White is critically acclaimed and one of our nation's treasures on jazz and classical trumpet. He's extraordinary. He has albums out with a host of people, including his own as leader. He's got a recording studio where they are right now, and I'm sure they're going to play a little bit for us, so that'll be fun. Anyway, without further ado, Walter White and Donell Snyder. Hi, guys.
Hi,
Hi.
Sonny.
Thanks for
So,
having us.
Thank you for.
oh, so glad you can be here. Donell, can you come just a little closer to that mic? For some reason, you're disappearing.
Okay, I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
Perfect. So let me just start out by asking you guys, how have you been musically during COVID? And what have you been doing with yourself? How have you been creating?
You have the most to say with that.
Um, yeah, we used to do a lot of shows together. That's not happening, obviously, and a lot of wedding gigs on the weekends with Simone Vitale's band, and so that's not happening. But
Yeah.
fortunately, for 20 years or so or more, I've had my home studio and I've been doing stuff remotely. So I was really prepared for it. And so I still kept going with a lot of creative projects, and I actually finished my big band record last August during pandemic because I had enough stuff in the can, and so yeah, I've been keeping busy. I've a lot of commercial projects, my own stuff. I get up and write every day, and I still try and get her down here to record woodwinds or saxophones or whatever, which is great. I mean, I'm really lucky to have like an in-house multi instrumentalist. I think it's 13 or 14 instruments now, something like that. Uh, so, but it's great. So yeah, but
The power couple, actually.
yeah. I mean, it hasn't been completely steady
Yeah.
work musically, but I mean, we all have to create, and so like even before this, my daily routine was kind of like get up in the morning, and start creating and recording and do whatever. And so um, I was
So
looking.
when you record, are you doing the whole project, or are you sort of what do you call it when you send tracks of your playing to someone else?
Oh, yeah.
Everything in between. I'm right now. I'm concentrating on recording a bunch of my own original stuff for like music library soundtrack stuff. But the work that kept me going was commercial stuff. Yeah, so where I would send out a composer would call and say, I have this demo or this final for a department store in Germany, and we need some trumpets on it. So I would record a couple trumpet tracks and upload them and get paid for that, you know. So, but yeah, and then so yeah, everything from single trumpet tracks to trumpet, trombone, French horn, saxophones, oboe, English horn, and full blown. You know, I have a Horn Track Pros website that kind of showcases some of the stuff. So it's yeah, everything from single trumpet stuff to whistling. For a children's book, I did a whistling gig once, you know, and sent it off.
Show us, honey. Show us right now. Yeah, that's fabulous.
I better
As Jay West says, you just put your lips together and blow.
gotta send that one into BMI right now, so nobody steals that one.
Yeah, it sounded remarkably like Andy Griffith, sung by a trumpet player.
And, you know,
That's very hip. The only I can still sort of whistle, but it comes out like air. But I can do a mean.
Oh yeah.
comes the dog.
I'm more the like really
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So before we go on to Donell, I was going to ask you about this later, but one of the things on your website that I thought was so interesting and fantastic for the students is the inexpensive and marketable and really easy to access tools for young players. Tell us a little bit about them, so in case we have any young players out there, they can go find that.
Well, everybody's got a phone. I mean, that's first of all like one of the main tools I wish I had when I was coming up. But I mean, you can do everything. You can make beats. You can record yourself. You can record sounds and use them to create sounds with. In fact, my neighbor was out using his obnoxious leaf blower the other day, so I went out and recorded about 15 or 20 seconds on my iPhone, and then I put it into this a program called Isotope Iris 2, and where you can pick out the frequencies that you like. And so I turned it into this beautiful like synthesizer pad, and so I'm using it in one of my things. But for young kids, yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
the phone is a great thing. In fact, I just did a 45-minute tutorial on recording at home and you know what things to use. But yeah, a lot of that stuff. USB microphones have come down a lot in price these days, and so those are great. You know, just with a laptop and a simple little MIDI keyboard, which doesn't cost a lot, you can have some tools to really get creative very easily. Using GarageBand is, you know, for Apple users, and there's some free stuff out there too. You know, you don't have to have the full blown Pro Tools and the, you know, Logic Pro and all that stuff. There's a bunch of free stuff out there too. Audacity, Reaper, things like that. And so it's great for especially for young up and coming performers, because it's always, you know as a teacher and stuff, how great it is to record yourself and to improve. And so not only can you do it just with your phone, but you can also do it with GarageBand and get instant feedback. And you can also take songs in loop sections and slow them down and transcribe solos. And so the tools that are available are really great.
even for me when I'm doing stuff for a commercial for him, it's that being able to hear that back and instantly fix it, and that upping your game to that, that perfectionist. I'm looking for this, and can I nail it in the first couple tries, and keeping with the beat exactly, and very, very challenging, and not forgiving his real life. So it's
I use it in my classroom all the time, and have I record the students playing along, and I'm 100% sure that that all the years that I've spent recording tracks and jingles and whatever in the studio contributed to my improvement, for sure. My,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
on a daily basis, being able to, you know, assess the situation. Did I hit it stylistically correctly? Was it in tune? Was the attack right? Too hard? Too soft? How about the cutoff? Are we cutting off on the down? I mean, it's like that. It's great, And she's gotten better
It
too.
makes
I
you
can
better.
attest. I can.
Well,
Attest to that.
and then
Although she was already really, amazing, so hard to improve on that. But
And then we were just talking about my little sabbatical replacement stint for Don Cinta at U of M. And I still remember when I was in his studio, there was a CD there, and they're like, yeah, it's this really cool CD with long tones on it. Like, this guy made it. And then, yeah, that was before I knew Walter, but that was
I
his
don't know if
CD.
you, I don't know if you ever told me that, but yeah, Don liked my long tone
He
accompaniment.
totally had it in there.
That is really interesting. So for those of you that don't know who Don Cinta is, tell them. He's pretty legendary.
Yes, he's now retired, and Tim McAllister has replaced him at U of M. But yes, he was Larry Teal taught at U of M, and then Donald took um, the position after Larry Teal.
Classical saxophone.
Right, classical saxophone. Then I was teaching over at Eastern for a while, and so he took a little sabbatical, and Tim and I filled in and split the duties that year. But so yeah, tell them about your long tone because that's on your website, right? Your
Oh
long tone
yeah,
CD.
yeah, and I actually met Don at Interlochen because he was like a big figurehead, and I spent like most of um, my youth at Interlochen, and he was always up there during the summers with the All-State program, the University of Michigan All-State, and so I became a friend of his, and then after I'd after high school and when I used to come back and do guest appearances at Interlochen, we'd always hang out, and I gave him a copy of it, and he really liked it because he's a big long tone, you know, guy like me. So, but yeah, you can. I I created it like 25 years ago as a way to stay in shape when I was on the road, and I just like made up some new ones finally, like 24 years later, and they're all up on the website. But it was just something I used at home. It was when I was still, dubbing stuff down to cassette, and people asked for copies of it. But of course, cassettes always played at different pitches, so it was like it was
Oh,
just when you could start making your own CDs and stuff. And so I said, oh well, I might as well turn this into a CD. Um, and then I got delayed. This is a completely longer story, but this guy that owned Kashi Cereal Company in California, I met him at Interlochen, and he convinced me to make it a meditational CD. So I made like 700 that are still sitting in the barn getting.
I have a few of those. I have a question about that. Wasn't, okay, I know this. If Ron were here, he would know this story exactly. The origin of Kashi was a musician,
Yeah, a trumpet player.
trumpet player, right?
Yeah,
And he
he's
became a
still.
trumpet player for the multi-million dollar corporation
Yeah.
Kashi.
No,
He's a quarter of the arts,
he
right?
plays trumpet, and he was grew up and he was lived in L.A. and he tried 20 or 30 different business ideas until he hit on Kashi, and this was probably when Ariana was like, you know,
his daughter Ariana.
yeah, when she was like, I don't know, it was 25 years ago, so she was just a little kid, and I was up visiting Interlochen playing with the jazz band, and he still had video of she was like 2 or 3 hanging onto my hair when we were walking, and yeah, he gave me a box of the cereal, and then I went out and visited him later. But yeah, Phil, and yeah, he's a decent trumpet player, but he hit it big time with the Kashi thing, and ended up selling it to Kellogg's and stuff like that, and had his
Right.
had his home in La Jolla completely redone with cherry wood floors, and like.
Can you imagine?
But
Hey,
yeah, no, so yeah, he was originally like, this is another business lesson, which is another topic too, is like I try and tell kids to like be aware of the whole business thing, and because you can always get into other things, but he was at the time saying, "Oh, this is great, making a meditational CD, and we'll put a CD in every box of cereal, and we want to give you all this money and to help you, and but ended up he flaked out, no pun intended. No money, no box of CDs, and I think you should check out your own vision, and listen to your own heart. Listen to your heart. And anyway, it never happened, and so I went on with my original idea of making the long tone CD, which is already in its third or fourth printing and is used in 13 different countries. And I sell a bunch every week and every day online, and people are downloading it. And a lot of famous trumpet players like Randy Brecker, Ingrid Jensen, Jens Lindemann, they all use it on a daily basis too. So it's kind of like become a bit of a legacy as well. So, well, I'll have to get you to sing some drones on the next one because I'm always working on new keys and stuff like that. So
Well, I'd love to. I can drone on. I'd be happy to do that. That would be great.
or
I have
whatever.
a couple of things. Um, did Bobby Shue, are you friends with Bobby Shue at all?
Very much so, yeah. I've never officially studied with him, but I met Bobby when I was playing with Maynard in California. Even like, yeah, this is back in the late '80s when I was playing with Maynard Ferguson, and of
Yeah.
course I use his model trumpet because I'm a Yamaha artist, and he designed this. Him and Bob Malone designed the Z, the famous legendary Z trumpet, because it has a zing to it, and that's how that became a model.
Ah, I
I'm
love
very
that.
closely associated with Bobby and through Yamaha and professionally too as a colleague, and his amazing ideas about teaching and breathing and trumpet playing. But I first met him when I was going to Interlochen also because um, I, my classmates were Monday Mariano, who was the daughter of Toshiko Akiyoshi and Charlie Mariano, and her roommate was Wilder Ferguson, whose dad was Maynard Ferguson, and so I ended up playing with
That.
both of them and stayed in touch with both of them, and but. Toshiko's band came to Interlochen, and Bobby was playing lead and jazz trumpet, and that was in 1981, and that was the first time I heard him play, and I was amazed because he was killing the lead book, and then turning around and playing these amazing, tasty flugelhorn solos with
I
all the
know he is one of those guys that can do it all,
yeah, totally.
right? I met him, curiously enough, when I was just right out of college. Barbara Streisand came and filmed the movie A Star is Born at Tempe at Arizona State.
Oh,
And I auditioned and I got a part, right?
oh,
And so there's this big outdoor concert,
yeah.
and the band is sitting on the stage behind Chris Christopherson. And so I'm hanging with the guys. And I wish I could remember the name of the trombonist and the sax player. I have it written down somewhere. But Bobby Shue was the trumpet player. And I'm this young kid going, hello, hello, look, I wrote an arrangement. Would you look at my arrangement? You know,
Oh man, I gotta rewatch that movie.
well, unfortunately, my scene was a little blue for a Barbra Streisand movie, so unfortunately, I still get paid, but it wound up on the cutting room floor, dang it. But I wish I could tell this story about Bobby. I don't, no, no, I can't tell that. I can't tell that no, I can't tell it. So that will have to wait for a later time. I will tell you when we're done with the show.
After.
But let me say that when I moved out to LA, I called him immediately, and he took me under his wing, took me on all the sets. We hung out. I took him to jazz clubs in Phoenix when they were on set, and we became really good friends. And he became a really big advocate for me.
He's
I
so
love that man. He's a great human being, man. I
That's so
love him.
cool. I didn't realize that when, I'm learning more about you all the time that I didn't know we had the Bobby connection. And I think you've met Bobby too, right?
I have
Yeah.
just
In fact, I think
at the
at the trumpet conference
in Grand Rapids.
in Grand Rapids when they had the Trumpet Guild conference. But yeah, man, Bobby.
And one last thing I wanted to tell you about just a connection when you were talking about Larry Teal teaching at U of M before Don Cinta. I became really close friends, and I've lost contact. I've got to get back in touch with him, with Larry Teal Jr. He
Right.
ran the Macomb Center for the Arts.
Yes.
He
That
had
was
me
down
come
the
out from
street from where
LA.
I grew up. Yes.
Yeah. And so I was really close to that family.
Well, I knew Tim Teal also, the guitar player, was.
Yeah, of course, Tim. So, so Donell, have you tell me a little bit about your creative period during this last year?
To be really honest, yeah. Things got really busy at the hospital, so it was probably good that I had a little bit of less to do with the musical stuff because there was, quite a bit of time there when things were pretty uncertain and stressful, and that was where my focus needed to be. I would say it's just been the last probably couple 3 months that I feel like we've got it pretty under control as far as you know what we need to do from a structure process standpoint and our confidence like dealing with patients like in the beginning it was really scary. Nobody really knew what was going on, and yet we're there. Like my office in the beginning was right outside my office were the rooms with the COVID patients, and like, you know, do you what do you do? Get undressed in the garage and come in, and you're trying to keep your family safe. And so it was definitely a lot of stress, along with the fact that yes, then I don't have my creative outlet to go with that. We did get to play with the Detroit Jazz Festival. Did an amazing job last August of still um, making the whole event come together from a even though it was virtual. So that was very special to get to play. Walter's band were, yeah, I guess, yeah. How much did we play? Like 30 minutes? An hour, like
No, we played 50 minutes.
50 minutes. So that was kind of fun. And then recently, Kalamazoo Symphony, I got to play with them. People are trying to figure it out and come back and get a chance to play. And then really, I only kept like one student during the whole thing. And it's just been kind of trying to find a balance, but still keep that going and reminding myself to go upstairs and just play the piano for fun once in a while.
That's been one of the things that I've done during COVID is saying, Sonny, up your piano playing, right? Let's be able to accompany yourself without flaw and sing and play. And that's been really fun for me to up my ante a little bit. And also, you're talking about the teaching in the beginning with this virtual thing, teaching through Zoom and the other form. It was a nightmare. I was exhausted after it. Did
Yes, and I was doing it at the hospital from basically the beginning of March because we needed more people to have the education to take care of the patients and things that were very important like vent class and orienting new critical care nurses. Like I was had to get immediately on the virtual bandwagon, and then doing it where some of the nurses are there working that day, so they come to a class and some are at home and finding a way, and it was a lot.
Now, most of your critical care nursing teaching, were they going right on the COVID floor or a
Um,
lot of them?
yeah, my I was in the ICU at Sparrow, their cardiovascular ICU now. That's an open heart ICU. So I was an open heart nurse there for 7 years, and then took the critical care position like 4 years ago now. So I was up until just recently overseeing the three critical care units at Sparrow, the neurointensive care unit, the now it's the MICU, which is where we're primarily trying to keep the COVID vented patients and people like that, and then yes, our cardiovascular ICU. So it's my responsibility to make sure that they have all the knowledge that they need to do their job and do it safely, take care of themselves and take care of their patients. So,
No, amazing. Look at you. I mean, look at you're so young and you have two careers that you're extraordinary, and that's really pretty amazing.
it's been a lot, and I'm like, hey, I got 3 bachelor's degrees and my master's, and I never did finish that doctorate, but hey, it's okay. I have
Even the fact that you were on your way to your doctorate is astounding to me. Very impressive.
well, it really was that final year of do I take a year and go back and finish up the last of this, or do I maybe do something else? And I mean, it's tough out there to make a living as an adjunct professor at EMU. Like, I had no health insurance. I was not making much money. You're doing a lot of driving. It's hard out there.
Yeah.
And so this was something that came up, and I was like, if I get into it was the nursing program at MSU, you could get a second bachelor's degree in 12 months at that time.
Wow.
It's 15 months now, but I was like, I can spend 12 months doing that. And it's
That reminds me of a bumper sticker that I love. I still love it. It says, "Real musicians have day gigs."
well, it is about diversifying, and when I really think about it, like that's sort of been my story, piano and when I was 4, and then saxophone in 5th grade band, and then flute in 7th grade, and oboe in 9th grade, and then clarinet and English horn, and and then it's just skills. Like, I think I just like to learn new things all the time. And so for me and my job, that's very important. So now I'm always like, oh, I got all my doubles, and then I've got balloon pump, impella, open heart, like,
That's an interesting double. That's like trumpet and bassoon, open heart and oboe. So I am going to play some music because I can't let us get away with I'm going to play the tune that Walter sent. Is it called World Weight?
No, that was just the shortened title instead of typing it. The world will have to wait.
The world will have to wait. And Donell, this is showcasing Donell's doubling. And then we're going to go on and play some more of your big band, Walter. Before we play this though, tell us what instruments you double on. I mean, you gave us a list of a few of them.
well, there's the typical piccolo and flute, and then clarinet and
On
bass
this,
clarinet.
she's talking about on this tune actually, and this is a tune that was written by my friend Andre Frappier, who was musical director for Ariana Grande, and he's from Detroit but lives in LA now, and that's his wife singing on it.
Sounds great.
It's a track that I worked on, and for this we used 2 flutes, clarinet, oboe,
English horn.
English horn, and bass clarinet. And then I was playing some flugelhorn and trombone underneath it, but
Note, there was no saxophone.
no sax.
Oh, saxophone.
Mostly my primary thing. But
She
All
did.
right, here we go. This is The World Can Wait.
The world will have to wait.
The world will have to wait. Yeah, that is so lovely.
I soloed them up so that you could really hear them. Yeah, obviously,
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I think we're going to go right on and play a little bit of Cantaloupe Island because Donell, you're also on this on Barry, right?
Mhm.
Listen to the bottom of the band, boy, it is pretty beautiful. Okay, so here we are. This is Cantaloupe Island from your new record. Gary Shunk.
There you go. Got the real roads too.
Yeah, very hip. What a great chart.
That's
Fantastic. That's your arrangement, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
yes.
yes, it is actually one of my older ones. When I was teaching at Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York, when I was living there for a bit, um, I wanted to create some stuff that wasn't like through composed original stuff, and that it was 9 pages long. That were, that something that the students could grasp onto, and that was fun to play. So I started doing a bunch of standards and jazz standards that way, so that I could walk into rehearsal and any town with any band and rehearse for a day and do a concert. And so that was one of the first ones. Because at the time there was it's always been a great tune, but at the time there was this group, a kind of a hip hop rap group called Us Three, and I was also playing in the wedding band, and so they were doing like a hip hop version where they had sampled Herbie's original recording of that, and groovy, groovy, jazzy, funky.
Yeah, very groovy, very funky. And one of the things I loved in there is at the point you're like the top of your range and Donell's at the bottom. It's like,
Yeah, that's common with us figuratively and
oh dear, I don't know what you're saying, laddie. What do you have in your hands there, young man?
oh, I always have to have something in my hands. I guess uh,
Can you show us?
it's the electronic valve instrument.
Iwi.
I just have it in my hands. I like to use it because when I'm recording, um, I communicate better with doing this than by playing keyboard. Although I too have been practicing my keyboard playing, my
He
jazz.
hasn't.
I've been shedding my keyboard playing too.
I've heard a lot of
So
trombone this
I've been
COVID.
practicing trombone, French horn, and guitar too. Actually, that's what I want for my new birthday is a new electric
You
guitar.
all are
No.
crazy.
But yeah, I think I have this plugged in right now to some French horns.
Sorry. That's my water.
Oh, that was your water bottle. Yeah, see what the French horns made. It's like,
Play it high. Bring on the Mahler, bring on the Bruckner.
yeah, and then I just got this really cool East West Cloud Composer has these great sounds that a lot of people are using. So I just got the choir sound. Oh, I got to turn it up a little bit.
Pretty cool. He can type words in.
Yeah. Actually, I typed in Sunny.
That is so cool. Okay,
Yeah.
now we don't need singers. First of all, we didn't need drummers, and we didn't need bass players. Now we don't need singers.
No, I was thinking that exact thing this morning. I was like, wow. Like I feel like our culture and our time is so I need it right now. That, they want them to put together something in 24 or 36 hours. Like we've been forced into this thing where you have to use a sound that we own instead of real people because
Yeah.
we're just we want it right now, and it's put a lot of pressure on creativity and the way that we make things and produce things, and
That's true.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah,
it's mixed bag for sure.
I always try to replace stuff though as much as possible. I mean, it's great. They're great, amazing tools. I have at my disposal every instrument on known to man, and then some, and then I can create some. Like I was telling you with the leaf blower and all that. So I mean, it's like, what do you do with all this? But there's nothing that will ever replace, the talent. I mean, of somebody coming in and playing uh, an oboe solo instead of me playing it on the iwi with a sampled sound that it's probably somebody from LA or somewhere or Czechoslovakia that's a great oboe player that they sampled their instrument. It's still not going to be as good as having real instruments. So, I don't have access to a full 70 voice Bulgarian women's choir. So I do in here. And if I'm writing stuff for movies, then I can imagine all this, and it's amazing. And then I can say, hey, can you come down here? And, I can tell you the number of times she's still in her nurse's uniform and she comes down and lays down a flute part or a bass clarinet part or, whatever it is. And I'm like, okay,
Okay, bye.
thanks.
Thanks.
That's fantastic. Hearing that choir was astounding, really. Really, it's so interesting to me. Ronnie and I live a creative life, right?
Yeah.
There's somebody at the piano. We have two pianos, one's upstairs, one's downstairs. Usually one is teaching or practicing, and something's going on creatively in the house. And that's how my child was raised. And I don't know if it's as a consequence because this guy the fruit did not fall far from the tree. He's getting his PhD in music composition right now. And he was one of those little Wunder kids that kind of reminds me of you guys. At the seventh grade, he would sit down at the kitchen counter and compose for orchestra. He heard everything. And
Yeah, it's
he,
really weird in my nursing world when I'm like, there's like people I'm like, oh, you don't hear that? And they're like, no, we don't hear that. Like, we have no idea. And it's, yeah, it's strange. Or like here at home, we make jokes all day long that are like, Broadway show. Like you just sing two or three notes of it and we know what the other one is saying. And so there is definitely a part of being in in a relationship with somebody who gets it. And
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
boning up on my medical vernacular, but
it's high time.
clinical nursing vernacular is, I have a lot to look up,
That's funny. When my sons were growing up, they would purposefully say, "Oh, for God's sake, Mom, Dad, does everything have to remind you of a song?" He'd say something, we'd burst into song, and then Ron would burst into song.
And now they do it with you,
And now they do it with us.
like a disease or,
Like, oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Uh, it's a good thing, though. Yes, I mean, it's kind of comical. And, Joe Luloff's son and John Nichols' son. And
Yeah.
it is a lot. It is the environment that you're in and what you're hearing growing up. And
The beautiful thing about Joel Luloff's son and my son is they're still closest friends. And
yes,
Chris has written for and oh come on, what's his name? How can I forget Joe's son? He's been over here his whole life. Do you remember?
Jordan.
Jordan.
Jordan, thank you. It's all right. It's the aging brain.
Yes.
So Jordan is dating a former student of mine, and he's closest friends with my son. How about that? The world gets smaller and smaller.
It really is pretty small. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So may I play another piece?
Well, you can do whatever you want. This is your show.
Well, thank you, sir. I am going to tell us about, oh, here it is. I'm going to play Most Triumphant. Will you tell us a little bit about that record?
That was a quartet record I did just after I returned to Michigan. I think it was around 2012, 2011 or something. And Miles Brown is on bass, who it was interesting because Miles was from Ithaca, New York, and his father, Steve Brown, is one of my best friends, and legendary jazz guitar player and the founder of the jazz department at Ithaca College. And so we had a trio: Steve Brown, Miles Brown, and Walter White. And so we called it the Beige Trio.
I'm sorry, that's hysterical.
Yeah. And so Miles, his wife, uh, was also from Detroit, and um, Janine's father was actually one of the founders of the music department at Wayne State. So Miles and I moved back to Michigan, or at around the same time in 2011. So him and Sean Dobbins and Gary Shunk, we did a couple hits down at Cliff Bell's, and I thought, man, this band, it feels really nice, and so we went into the studio. I was on the road with a Broadway show at the time, so when I was home for a couple weeks, I think we knocked it out, and it was good. I want to go in and do another quartet record soon, but this was a good. I'm about 15 records behind as far as like that do one a year, and there's some people like my buddy Mike Deese and Conrad Herwig. They're like knocking them out every 9 months. It's like a new one. And so I was glad to get some of these tunes recorded. They were a couple of my originals that I'd written a long time ago, and so yeah, Most Triumphant was a tune. You remember that tune by the Gypsy Kings, Bambaleo?
Oh yeah.
It was hot at the club at the time that I was working in New York. Um, I was playing in a salsa band with Barry Rogers and his son Chris Rogers and Matt Callahan, and I came home from the gig and I couldn't get that minor seven to minor six thing, you know. And so I got back, and there's a lot of reverb on that piano. What am I doing here? So I got back to my crib, and and I just started playing that over and over, and then I said, "Oh, why don't I take it?" And so then it kind of wrote itself in about 10 minutes, and then I switched to a synth sound. This was all like at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I just improvised a melody over the chords, and that's how the tune came about. And then I played it with quartet, and then made a big band arrangement, and symphony orchestra, and for polka band, and for East German marching band, and
And then we went right on into the polka, and
yeah.
it lends itself. This is Most Triumphant. Here we go.
Wow.
Don't you admire my excellent fades there?
Better
That
than
was
I've
so
done.
nice, Walter.
Thanks. That's faster than I remember it. And I was just telling Donell that I want to try and redo the. I recorded the big band version of this with the Des Moines Big Band um, back in, like 1988 or something like that. And so I think I'm going to try and put this on the next upcoming BBXL Big Band record and redo the.
Nice,
Thanks for.
nice. Yeah, it's such a treat. So I have to ask you, did you ever live in LA
No, not for more than ever, like a week or two when I was out there playing with Maynard, but
with Maynard?
no. But I
Okay.
know a lot of guys from LA.
Mhm.
But where did you live in New York then for a while? I mean, I know you're from Michigan and came back, but were
Yeah,
you in New York for a while? Where were you?
I'm from Ferndale, Michigan, and then I went to Interlochen, and then I went to New York, 1981, and then from there,
Miami somewhere,
and then
right?
I went from in 1983 went to the University of Miami. Then I got back to Detroit for a while, and then moved back to New York City in um, the late '80s, and I was there, again for 5 or 6 years before I moved back to Michigan, and
Mhm.
then I was in Ithaca, New York, and then back to Michigan again. So I'm always, coming back home, kind of. But yeah, no, I was actually have thought about moving out to LA at one point, especially for a bit, just to I mean, I was thinking about that.
It really was to be more in the middle of the music scene,
Well,
but
yeah,
now it's like it's
yeah,
all online.
yeah,
So
but no, yeah, for sure, connecting with the television and movie industry, recording wise, and there's a ton of people that I know from Detroit, from Michigan that moved out there, and from Miami, from the University of Miami, that are now really successful musicians and engineers out there. So, and yeah, did you know Dan Jacobs? He was also a
Oh
guy.
yeah,
You probably knew Dan out there because he was an LA dude and
and
friends with.
he's back in Grand Rapids, isn't he?
No, he lives up in. They may have lived in Grand Rapids at one point, but I think that they have a place in Bel Air up by Traverse City, kind of there,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
in the
I
woods.
tell you, I loved my time in LA. I lived there for 15 years and I loved it, right? Really formative. But talking about being burned with fire. There's so many world-class musicians there.
Yeah,
You walk in the room, you walk on a casual and you never know who's going to be on it, but you're going to get your butt kicked. It's really intense.
yeah, yeah,
And it was so good for me and I loved every minute of it, right? I loved living there.
yeah.
I'm glad I don't live there now, because there's nothing going on anyway. The session work kind of has, at least it was starting to dry up when I left. And my friends say that there's not much going on with that. Um, and the quality of life for me here is superior to anything I could have there at this point in my life. I don't know how you feel about that.
Hmm. Yeah, there's gives and takes, obviously, about location, but
yeah, like he would be there without me.
Oh yeah.
the biggest one being that.
Yeah, good luck with that, Walter.
Yeah, because LA's not my thing.
No, I love California. It's beautiful, and I mean, I love the climate for sure, and it's great. But yeah, I'm a Michigander in my blood, and I've been, like all over the world, obviously touring and stuff like that. But for me, Northern Michigan especially, and Michigan in general, but like that's for me. In the summertime, I mean, it's spectacular up there. I mean, it's like
It's home.
So beautiful.
home. For me, Michigan is great. I mean, if this was Michigan,
We
uh,
live right
no,
here.
we're this is an amazing place to be, especially uh, with the natural resources that we have and all the fresh water, I mean, thinking about the future as
Yeah, absolutely.
getting enough sunlight for the solar thing and the wind and the water, the Great Lakes are, I mean, to me, it's one of the natural wonders of the world to me. Anyway, is the Great Lakes, are they on the list officially?
I don't know. They should be. I remember when I first moved out here, I was a fish out of water. I had no idea what to do with myself, personally or professionally. It was such a abrupt shift from LA to here. And what?
He's singing Green Acres.
Oh, yeah. Green Acres is the place for me. Fire. Okay. But now I look back on it and somebody says, well, you're retired now. Where are you going to move? I go, why would I go anywhere? I have woods and a river out front of me. You know, I can hike anywhere within 10 minutes and nobody's around. It's beautiful. I love it here, which is crazy because I didn't when I first moved here. I loved Ronnie, but I didn't love Michigan.
Yeah, we were all kind of surprised you came.
Was he?
'Cause I was in his jazz band when
Oh,
he
Donell, I so remember that. I have to say that when I came
like,
here,
wow, he's in a really good mood. Like, what? They were like, no, she's not gonna come here, and you came here, and we were just what?
why would she do that?
Yes.
But I remember you particularly, and I thought, I like her. I'd like to be her friend, right? I mean, you're a lot younger than me, but I thought you were so cool.
No, I adore you back, Sonny.
Oh, yeah. And then I moved here and I immediately got pregnant and everything just sort of like, what?
That's
Yeah,
okay. You have a great kid now.
yeah. Oh, I have a question for you, Donell. Why do you think it is that it's women and bari sax players? What is that deal?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's been really interesting the whole like Me Too thing, I'll admit, because it's like, well, being the token chick on the Barry, I'm just gonna say it, like, it gets you gigs. I don't know, it's a terrible thing to say, but
No, no.
yeah, and it was interesting because you had sent us a couple questions to think about. And like when I was on tour with the Capitol Quartet, we went to Guatemala and we did a little master class for their military band that was down there. It was like very memorable experience because just being in that country and everyone is so poor and there's like razor wire on everything and machine guns guarding everything. And so it just really makes you very grateful for where we are and where we live. And like just for them getting reeds and instruments and those things, it's a constant challenge. But during our little Q&A thing, it was very interesting. At least half the questions were, you're a girl. How did this happen that you were allowed to do this as a woman? And it was just really an eye-opening thought that you're right. Like I had this privilege and not everybody has that just because they're a woman. I don't know. It was very made me really grateful for that moment and more appreciative of the things that I do have. So, but yeah, not sure. I think it's the tall blonde with the berry thing.
I can't tell you. I mean,
you can blame Joe Luloff. Like he's the one who was like, "Now you're going to play Barry in the jazz band."
I was in Poland. There was a tall blonde girl in Poland playing Barry sax. There was a girl in Oklahoma that was a tall blonde. And the Lauren Sevian from the Mingus Big Band, tall, gorgeous blonde.
Yeah, it is an interesting phenomena. It's like, well, I don't know if you remember this, but a million years ago, when I first moved here in 1994, I started a mentoring group called Sisters in Jazz
I
through
do.
IAJE.
I do, yes.
Yeah, and it was because of the attrition rate of young women from middle school and high school. Well, they're they're playing first chair and they're everywhere, and then all of a sudden they drop off, right? And the attrition rate's astounding. And I thought, well, let's mentor let's give some influence from, significant professional women and have them mentor them. And it worked really well, so well that we took it to IAJE and sort of became an international mentoring program. And um, but it is interesting to me that even though it's not as prevalent as it once was, there are a lot more women playing, but not as much in jazz still.
Oh,
Not as much as I'd like to see out there.
it's changing for sure. And I'm the brand ambassador for Robinson's Remedies products for lip renew and lip products, and now we have one for reeds and all that.
I know I wanted to tease you about that actually because can I say that slowly because it's so great. Talk about an inside joke.
Yes, please.
Where is it? I have to say it.
But you have a lot of women women
Oh,
ambassadors
no,
for that.
that was my point. Is that we have probably at least 20 right now of some of
Yeah.
the top women brass players that are endorsers, and most of the girls that are on the top players on Broadway, and the jazz players, Jennifer Wharton, the trombonist, whose group Bonegasm was on the top of the charts. Jennifer's amazing, and yeah, I mean we're really putting some weight behind that whole process and getting more people signed up and on board because it's great.
Isn't that great? That is so heartening to see, man. I love it. But I do have to just say, I'm going to say this slowly for you all out there because he represents Robinson's Remedies lip renewal. Isn't that great? I
Except
mean, it makes you want to giggle, really.
it's not
And
lip
it's
renewal.
lip
It's lip
remedy, lip renewal,
no
or
AL and lip renew. Just
lip renew. I'm sorry, lip renew. And
yes,
I want to do the commercial for it.
yes. That would be great. That scene from Schitt's Creek when that lady was trying to do that commercial and she.
Oh yeah, it's great. That's so great.
No, that would be great if you could do one for us. That would be great. And yeah, but it started with lip repair because my buddy Kenny Robinson from Robinson's Remedies, we started working on this years ago. It was the original cream was to prevent and cure cold sores, and for a trumpet player, that's impossible. And then after that one came out, we noticed that it helped with inflammation. So we made Lip Renew, which directly attacked the inflammation that we had to deal with. And so now the latest product is called Reed Renew, and that one is for brushing on your reeds or for saxophones or woodwinds or clarinet, oboe, whatever.
You got double reeds. Yeah.
So that it extends the life of the reeds.
And it keeps them moist.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
you do know you all do know that to the general public, this is like talking about saxophone.
Well, what was your friend? We were talking about it, and you were describing something to.
Oh gosh.
Oh no, we were talking about
Yeah, so COVID.
trumpet mouthpieces, I think.
No, I was
But
talking
yeah.
about COVID, and so
But yeah, licking your reeds and
there was the for COVID, they want you to, even the schools are doing this. They're having you put this like little bell cover on because that's going to keep the germs in.
Sure,
Oh, yeah,
sure
so my
it will.
friend was like, it's safe sax.
Oh, again, please let me do the commercial.
And- no, do it right now, and then I'll send me a recording. No,
Oh, that is just great.
we need more little commercial spots like that. So for sure, Sonny, I'll take you
He's
up
serious.
on that.
I don't know if you're serious, but he's serious.
I oh, well, you guys, this has been a wonderful hour. I've had so much fun in your company. It's almost like you're in my living room, and I can't wait till I can have you over for a glass of wine. And before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to tell the folks out there or share with them?
Just thank you so much, Sonny, for letting us do this and hang out, and we've been looking forward to it. So we really appreciate you.
Yeah, the stress is over now.
Oh, yeah. So I do want to say that when everything comes back on online and there's going to be live music, I know that the Lansing Symphony Jazz Band is going to be coming back and playing live music, and I think down the road it will be something to look forward to because they're going to feature Walter White and his music, which I think is so exciting. I can't wait.
And hopefully Donell on saxophone too. And but yeah, I
I
would
know who to talk to about that. I don't know.
yeah. No, thanks for so much for having us on, and it's been what a crazy year, and we went through a lot of ups and downs, but we got through it. I remember early on when she came back, taking off. It was even though it was really cold, she'd be coming in from the garage with no clothes on, and then I'd follow behind her, spraying everything and wiping it down.
Spraying her down, hosing her down.
But no, and I just hope everybody has gotten through it as well as possible, and thank God for creativity and new ways to stay connected. And it was wonderful. There was probably a lot more going on than we actually saw, but you all of a sudden there was a proliferation of all these collaborations of people recording stuff online together, and I mean, it was great that we all made it through it, and so um, and I thanks to Donell for putting up with me during this whole time as well. It's tough to get through, uh,
Yeah, he's here all the time.
yeah.
I say this often, but my favorite saying for COVID is, "How can I miss you if you won't go away?"
Well, that's like a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm stuck at home." I'm like, I would give anything to be stuck at home.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Not how it worked out for
Yeah,
me.
and we were thankful that she had a job, you know,
Mm.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
as much as I kept my stuff going, and fortunately had the 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 movie and TV, and that business keeps going, and that's actually gotten better. So fortunately, I had stuff, but it wasn't anything to compared to her having her real job. And
Rigorous, right
yeah,
in the trenches job. Yeah.
yeah, and it's really, I feel really fortunate that she made it through safely up until getting the vaccine, because even though she wasn't on the floor all the time, it was still being in that close proximity to all that. So we feel pretty lucky and
Mhm.
thankful. So excellent. Well, definitely looking forward to a glass of wine and cooking you some dinner at some point.
He can
And
cook.
All right. Wait a minute.
I might have gained a
So,
little weight over COVID
I'm
because
sure.
he'd cooked a lot.
so you play all that stuff, you do all that stuff, and you cook?
Yeah, I'm
That is
Does
like you're the
all kinds
perfect guy,
I'm
apparently.
trying to come up with a new cooking show. I'm trying to write the theme. My buddy Tim Mitchell and I, he's like one of my best friends. He's Shakira's MD. He lives in Miami, but he's originally from Detroit, from Grosse Pointe, and we always wanted to have a cooking show too. I got him into cooking a long time ago, and he's an excellent Indian food chef.
He does good Indian, yes.
Prepares his own sushi, and so we wanted to have a show where we'd while we were waiting for the food to simmer and marinate, we'd go and play a tune. You so
That would be great. Do that definitely.
there's the theme.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for being on my show. It has been a joy to talk to both of you,
You too.
such both consummate musicians and phenomenal people. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sonny.
And thank you guys for being with me today, everybody out there. I do want to remind you that on April 12th, Timothy Muffet is going to be joining us, and that should be a marvelous hour. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Jamie Sue. Thank you, Susan. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for being with us. Bye bye. Play us out, baby. Play us out.